Hello, everyone, and welcome to the fourth and final week of the Facilitator Engagement for University Studies for Student Veterans. I will waste no time in admitting that this is the week to which I have been looking most forward as we've been working through the Facilitator Engagement, because this is the week that we get to gather in a kind of consortium style, conference style spirit and share our work, share with each other some of the things we've been working through and wrestling with through this engagement, showcase our syntheses and our analyses of the things we've learned from the tool and from each other through this engagement, and really sort of show one another what we plan to do, to show each other how we plan to make an impact on our campuses with our students, with some of the information that we've gained through this engagement. The format that those showcases will take, the answer to what are we going to do or how are we going to generate impact, the answer to those questions will take the form of an engagement plan. And this is something that we've been talking about since the beginning. Each of you is going to be asked for this week to develop an engagement plan. And the engagement plan is your response to the very first activity that we did together at the beginning of the course. And that activity was, I asked all of you to identify a problem you wanted to solve, an issue you wanted to work through or think through, a challenge that you wanted to address, a goal you wanted to achieve, or an aspiration that you hoped to realize related to your work serving military connected students at your institution or on your campus. So I said, think about your work with vets, think about your work with the population, think about your work in the Veteran Resource Center, and identify a real pain point, a real challenge that you're up against, or a goal or an aspiration that you'd really love to bring to fruition. And then sort of hold that in your hand as a kind of companion text to the engagement. Always looking at what's being presented to you, always looking at what your colleagues are saying, the things you're learning, the insights you're gaining, and sort of applying them back to this companion text, this challenge or this goal. How can some of these resources to which I am being exposed potentially help me address this challenge or achieve this goal? So at this moment now, we want to think back on that companion text. We want to think back on that challenge or that goal and figure out what we're going to do. Now, many of you brought really incredible and meaningful challenges and goals to the course as your companion texts. Some of you are really thinking hard about how to manage academic distress in your veteran populations and how to deliver to them in effective ways the academic skills and tools that they need to succeed. Not just for students who are in academic distress, as we've said several times, but also students who are really trying to enhance and optimize their performance. What kinds of things can we do to make sure that students get the information they need and build the skills that they need to succeed? Others of you are thinking quite specifically about the transition of specific kinds of veteran populations. For some of you, it's veteran populations who have a long transition or have a big gap or interruption in their formal education. For others of you, you're thinking about veteran students who have a very short window of transition, where they essentially walk directly out of active military service and directly into the college classroom. How do you help them navigate the sort of quickness of that transition? Some of you are thinking about serving combat veterans particularly. Others of you are thinking about veteran populations that come to college with families and other professional responsibilities. Still, others of you brought challenges that were resource related with you as companion texts. So, we work in resource constrained environments. Colleges and universities are often resource constrained environments. Time, money, staff are limited. So for some of you, the question or the challenge or the goal is, how do I serve my students with limited resources? How do I take full advantage of resources that are out there and sort of mobilize them to create effective interventions for my students. And still others of you aren't even thinking about challenges or problems with students at all. You're thinking about your staff. You're thinking about professional development. You're thinking about the folks who work for you who come in and say, a veteran wanted to talk to me about academic skill building, or a veteran wanted to talk to me about time management, or a veteran wanted to talk to me about, how to approach a professor in office hours, and I wasn't exactly sure what the best advice might be. And so you're thinking maybe there's a possibility to put together a professional development intervention for the folks who are helping you support military connected students at your school. So the list of challenges and goals was impressive, aspirational, and it's clear that people are working hard to figure out how to enhance and supplement and complement the extraordinary work that they're already doing with this population. So what we want you to do now is we want you to take this challenge or this problem that you brought with you and use it as the kind of inspiration for an engagement plan. And that engagement plan is going to have two parts. The first part is going to be a pathway, and the second part is going to be a mode of delivery or a modality. So you've got pathway and a modality, two parts. The pathway is essentially a mini syllabus drawn from the syllabus of University Studies for Student Veterans. So you've been in the syllabus many times, you've accessed all of the material that's available to you in the course. What a pathway is it's a curated selection of a handful of materials from that pathway that are chosen with a particular goal, problem, challenge in mind. Think about it as a kind of reading list. And you give it to someone and they walk into a library, and instead of being overwhelmed by the number of books, they know exactly where to go, exactly what books to take off the shelf in order to learn more about a particular topic. That's essentially what we're asking you to create. A thoughtful pathway through the curriculum comprised of materials, pieces of the curriculum that you think would be a useful contribution to the conversation around a specific topic. That pathway can be really short, 3 or 4 items. That pathway can be longer, 10 or 15 items. That pathway, importantly, can also include material that's not in University Studies for Student Veterans. You may have some resources out there that you love using and love utilizing, and you can bring those and pair those with some pieces of the University Studies curriculum that you think will create some synergy. So some of you will have pathways that are exclusively material in this course, and some of you will generate hybrid pathways. Both of those are absolutely welcome. Once you've got your pathway in place, once you have your curated selection of pieces of the syllabus or pieces of the curriculum that you'd like to put together as a kind of unit to help address a challenge or achieve a goal, then you're going to tell us a little bit about your mode of delivery or your modality. How do you plan to deliver this pathway to your population that you're trying to help? So some of you may want to deliver your pathway one-on-one in student advising sessions. Some of you may want to deliver your pathway in an orientation session or a kind of breakout session, or as an orientation workshop. Some of you may want to deliver your pathway digitally or electronically or via email. Have students engage with it in their own homes and then come back either to your office hours or to an on-the-ground class and talk about the stuff that you sent them. So for some of you, you may be trying to flip office hours or flip a classroom with your pathway by delivering it all virtually and then discussing it in person. Others of you may want to take your pathway and pair it with a particular piece of an existing on-the-ground transition program that exists at your school. You might want to assign your pathway the way you might assign a chapter of a book to help supplement or complement something you're already doing. And for still others of you, you may want to deliver this pathway as part of a professional development workshop or as part of a professional development retreat with your staff. So the headline here, I suppose, is that there are infinite numbers of pathways through the material, and there are infinite ways to deliver those pathways. And so we're really hoping for, and I personally am really pumped up about the kinds of creative ways that you all think you might take some of what you've learned in the last couple of weeks, not just from the university studies curriculum, but from each other. Resources that you've shared, resources that you already know about, resources you can bring our collective attention to, and sort of pair them creatively, create some alchemy, some programmatic alchemy about how you might combine these things, the pathway and the modality, to create engagement plans that serve as plans of action to address your challenge. Engagement plans that serve as meaningful interventions for your students. Engagement plans that generate measurable, observable impact for the populations you're trying to serve. Engagement plans that serve as something that you can take with you, export from this engagement, and execute. Bring it back to your campus, put it into action, and see what happens. So that's really what we're hoping for, and I'm just excited. I'm really, really excited to see what people come up with. So our final video conference this week will be an opportunity for us to share those plans. And I'm kind of imagining it again as a sort of consortium style round table where people can give 2, 3, 4 minute presentations on what pathway they've created and how they plan to deliver it to a particular population, and what they hope to achieve, what they hope the impact will be. I encourage you to share your engagement plans, which I imagine to be basically one-page documents. This is not a lot of writing. It shouldn't take people an extraordinary amount of time, but I do hope that whatever time it takes will be well spent for all of you. But I encourage you to share your engagement plans in our discussion board. Feel free to email them to me ahead of time so that I can take a look at them, so that we can all take a look at each other's work before we actually present. And then my final hope, and I hope I'm not being presumptuous, but my final hope is that some of you, might be generous and courageous enough to allow your engagement plan to be posted or published on the University Studies for Student Veterans course website, attributed to you, of course, as a resource for future educators and higher education professionals who come to the course looking for precisely this kind of material. Because I guarantee you that if you are up against a particular challenge, or if you are trying to achieve a particular goal relative to your work with veteran students, I can guarantee you that there are other people in the country who are up against the same challenge and who are trying to achieve the same goal. And so, those of you who are willing to publish your engagement plans, those folks who come to the course in the future can actually see your thought, your sort of mature thought on how you might start the conversation of addressing that challenge or achieving that goal. What is your programmatic response to how you might start to chip away at some of those stubborn challenges, or how might you start to take some small steps in the direction of realizing the aspiration you brought with you? Again, very excited for this week, very excited to see what you all come up with. If you have questions in the meantime, or you'd like to connect with me directly to discuss this exercise, I hope that you'll do so. Please feel free to reach out to me directly, and I look forward to both hearing from you in the interim and seeing what you produce as a final outcome.